On Tech News Today, ready to ditch cellular and use only Wi-Fi on your phone? One company thinks you are. Plus, WikiLeaks is mad at Google for not leaking something, and a popular Twitter client isn't accepting new users. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, January 26th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Shutterstock.com. With over 46 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 20% off image subscription packages on your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use the offer code TNT115. And by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace that connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. Visit prosper.com/twit and receive a $50 Visa prepaid card when you get a loan. Tech News Today is a show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. Welcome to the Twitchuation Room. I'm Mike Elgan. Lindsay Turntine is off today. Filling in is GigaOM senior writer Kevin Tofel. How are you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing well. We actually have a Twitchuation here because I'm on the East Coast and we've had some snow overnight. We've got some more on the way. I think 10 to 14 inches by me. Our New York office is looking at probably 2 feet of snow. It's just, it's like a whiteout here.
The mayor of New York said that it's going to be the worst, it could be the worst snowstorm, the worst blizzard on record, I guess. I was in a blizzard, I think it was in the mid-90s, and that was crazy. Like for somebody who grew up in California, that was a lot of frozen water, really gnarly.
Yeah, it's an experience, one that I could live without. But, you know, we have to deal with it here. It is what it is.
Yeah, you East Coasters and your weather. All right, well, let's jump into the news. A report by Robert X. Cringely said late last week that IBM would lay off 26% of its workforce this week, more than 100,000 employees. That's the bad news. The good news is IBM is flatly denying the report. Yes, there are layoffs coming, IBM said in a statement to the press, but only a fraction of the number rumored. We'll tell you about the actual number when IBM announces it. Kevin Tofel, Robert X. Cringely, formerly of InfoWorld, I think it was. Now he's sort of a rogue reporter. He's reporting these crazy numbers, and it's going to look really bad if IBM is in fact right and it's only a fraction of those numbers. They said a few thousand will be laid off, and that sounds more reasonable. I can't see any reason why IBM would suddenly lay off more than a quarter of its employees.
Yeah, Mr. Cringely's everywhere these days, everywhere and nowhere sometimes. I haven't seen him in a while. But, you know, he's talking about 26% of the IBM employees. That's just a massive cut, and I don't see anything that justifies them. I don't know who his sources are. And yes, okay, mainframe maybe is going away, and that's a big business for IBM. But they're also working with Apple to get iOS into the enterprise, to do software apps for the iPad in the enterprise. I mean, it just seems like too big of a number to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I don't believe it at all. So we'll get the real number. We'll tell you all about that. Well, Cablevision is launching a Wi-Fi-only mobile service called Freewheel, which starts at $9.95 a month for Cablevision Optimum online subscribers and $29.95 per month for non-customers. The service will initially work only with Motorola's Moto G smartphone. Phil Goldstein is the editor of Fierce Wireless, and he joins us now to talk about this story. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing well, Mike. I'm here in Washington, D.C., where we are probably not going to get as much snow as Kevin is going to get, or anywhere north of there. So that's a relief.
You'll get plenty, though. You'll get plenty of snow. The entire East Coast is going to be blanketed, and no matter where you are out there, I wouldn't fly because everything's being canceled. Now, how many hotspots are we talking about here? How many will be supported by this plan?
So Cablevision has 1.1 million total Wi-Fi hotspots on their hotspot network. They crossed the 1 million mark, I think, last July. And their service is primarily based in the tri-state area around New York City. And so, it's a huge metropolitan region, lots of potential customers for this service. I think that, I've reported and I've read in other reports that they're going to market it regionally, but it's going to be available nationally. But the bulk of their customer base is based in the New York area, and they have 1.1 million total hotspots on the network.
That is incredible. Now, they said that the Moto G will be the only phone supported here. Isn't that pretty limiting there? It's like, how many people have a Moto G? It seems like they're going to have a really puny rollout.
Yeah, I mean, that could limit it. They are heavily discounting the Moto G, so that could potentially boost their volumes. And I think I read in the Wall Street Journal that they're potentially going to expand this to other phones via an app. So in all likelihood, it will be expanded. To start, obviously, with one phone somewhat limits you, but, maybe that made it easier for Cablevision to get the service off the ground.
Kevin, can you hear us? I think we're having some technical difficulties. Can you hear us there?
I can. My apologies.
All right, wonderful. Fantastic. I have one more question for Phil, and then I'll let you jump in there, Kevin. But you mentioned an app. This is going to work with an app. Is that going to automatically log in for the users, or will they have to log in individually to every single Wi-Fi network?
The goal is to auto-authenticate with all of the hotspots that are on the Cablevision Wi-Fi network. So that definitely, will make it easier for users of this service to make calls, to send texts, to access the internet on their phones. The downside is that while 1.1 million hotspots is a lot, it's not everywhere, and it's not the same as having a nationwide cellular wireless network the way that the wireless carriers do. So that limited footprint, potentially limits the reach of this Cablevision service.
And Phil, you had pointed out that Cablevision thinks Wi-Fi is like a primary way for smartphones to connect when for so long
Right.
it's been cellular. Are we there yet where this relatively limited amount of hotspots can really be used as a primary means of communication for people? I mean, there might be some edge cases, but is this really feasible for everybody?
Well, so cable operators, cable MSOs have for a while talked about Wi-Fi being something that they see as complementary to cellular. Cablevision, among the cable operators, has been pretty aggressive in saying that Wi-Fi can be a technology that disrupts cellular mobile data. James Dolan, the CEO of the company, said that back in May of last year, and they're following through on that. I think that they say in their press release that this is geared towards people who are on Wi-Fi networks on their phones already, primarily at home, in the office, for people who are worried about cellular data overage fees, for people who want kind of a low-cost option for their kids, and some other kind of like niche use cases, like you said. I think that for most people, it's going to be too limited, but obviously, there are going to be some people who this is going to be a pretty viable option for. I don't think that right now, in terms of the ubiquity of Wi-Fi networks, we're there yet where Wi-Fi can be a definite alternative to regular cellular service. It might happen in the next few years, and this might become a more prominent offering from other cable operators or other companies that have Wi-Fi networks. But right now, I don't think that we're quite there yet.
Phil Goldstein is at fiercewireless.com and also on Twitter at fiercewireless. Thank you so much for joining us, Phil.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. In just a sec, we're going to tell you about a complaint that WikiLeaks has against Google. But first, I want to tell you about Shutterstock. I've been blogging for a long time. I've been blogging since before blogs existed, really. And in the last 3 years, the internet and the blogging world has become sort of intensely visual. If you don't have great visuals for your online content, no matter what that content is, basically you're not going to get any attention and you're not going to get the kind of traction and viewership that you're really going to want. And you also don't want to just steal photos from people on Google Images or something like that. You want to go to Shutterstock.com because that's a fantastic place for you to have all of the images and photos from professional photographers that you could possibly want. You can choose from more than 46 million, not thousand, million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips from Shutterstock.com. I use them all the time for my blog. I blog on Google+, and it's just fantastic. I get tons and tons of attention. Shutterstock adds, because of those photos, Shutterstock adds 300,000 images every single week. So every time you visit, you're going to find something new. And it's super easy to find pictures and images and other things on Shutterstock because of their search engine, which is really fantastic. You can put in anything. You can put in combinations of colors and emotions. So you're like happy people, you know, using red, for example, whatever. And you'll get like the colors you're looking for. You'll get the emotions you're looking for. You get the situations, the kinds of people you're looking for. It's really fantastic. And, you know, sometimes you want a super professional looking image. Sometimes you want something that looks very natural. And Shutterstock has all of those. And so you really, whether you have a website, a blog, no matter what you're doing online, use Shutterstock.com to get those great images that will get you a more visual representation than just about anyone else. No credit card needed. Just start an account and begin using Shutterstock to help imagine what your next project could be like, and save favorite images to a Lightbox to review later. Once you decide to buy, use offer code TNT115, that's TNT115, and new accounts will get 20% off image subscription packages. That's Shutterstock.com, and for 20% off, just use the offer code TNT115. We thank Shutterstock for their support of Tech News Today. WikiLeaks slammed Google over the weekend for giving information to the FBI without informing WikiLeaks. The FBI issued a warrant in March 2012 ordering Google to hand over phone numbers, credit card details, IP addresses, details of the time and duration of online activities, and all emails for 3 WikiLeaks staffers. Google reportedly waited until Christmas Eve last month to inform the organization. A WikiLeaks lawyer said in a letter to Google's executive chairman Eric Schmidt that WikiLeaks is, quote, astonished and disturbed that Google waited over 2.5 years to notify its subscribers that a search warrant was issued for their records. Kevin Tofel, this is really quite a stunning thing, especially in comparison to what Twitter did. Twitter received a somewhat comparable request for information, the same warrant, and they took them to court and won. Google basically rolled over, handed over the information, and didn't say anything about it. They said there was a gag order for 2.5 years. What do you make of this? Why, if this is in fact accurate, why do you think Google would have done this?
Well, assuming this is all accurate, I mean, this is just a bad situation all around. All of these types of situations are for both sides. The people who are obviously are having information provided about what they do to, say, the FBI or some other legal authority, but also for the company who is stuck with this request. What do we do? Do we hand it over? Do we fight back like Twitter did? Google says there was a gag order. It's just bad all around, and I'm really not sure what the answer here is long term. I'm really disappointed in that it looks like Google waited until like the worst possible news dump day in time to come out clean with us, you know, New Year's Eve when nobody is online and maybe it'll sneak by everybody. Obviously it didn't, and it shouldn't. It's just, you know, I don't know all the details, obviously. If there was a gag order and Google couldn't do anything, then I guess they couldn't do anything. But obviously Twitter felt they could, and did Google even fight back? We don't even know.
Yeah, in Google's defense, they tend to be pretty aggressive about this stuff. I mean, look at how they're standing up to Europe and the right to be forgotten. I mean, they're complying to the extent that they must, but they were also ordered to censor the internet globally, and they said no recently, and that was you know, that got my applause. But here's a case where, you know, as you said, you know, Christmas Eve they released this information. That's, you know, that's when nobody is paying attention to the news. So that sounded a little shady to me. You know, one possibility is that they kind of forgot. I mean, you know, maybe there's a gag order lasted 6 months or something, and they had other things to do. Who knows? But hopefully Google will come out and provide some more information about this, and hopefully they'll, you know, try a little bit harder to protect users' data. They got plenty of lawyers, so why not?
Are you saying they took advantage of their right to forget?
Exactly right. They're hoping you have the right to forget what they weren't telling you. Well, 9to5Mac is reporting that the popular third-party Twitter client Tweetbot for Mac vanished from the App Store yesterday morning, and that the app is not allowing new logins some of the time. At other times, it is allowing new logins. One possibility is that Tweetbot has maxed out on Twitter API tokens, which Twitter uses to limit access by third-party clients. We'll keep you posted on this story and see what really happened. But Kevin Tofel, as far as I can tell, it's got to be the sort of token thing, and because it's coming and going, which means some people maybe are giving up their tokens and then allowing more in, and then they close the door again.
Right. I would assume it's the same thing. It looks like it's been going up and down according to 9to5Mac. Some people are getting in, other people are getting the error again. I've actually never been a big fan of the whole token system, the limitations that third-party apps have to these services. I totally understand why they need it from a technical perspective to maintain the a certain amount of traffic and stability to the systems. But then I also wonder, gee, does Twitter really want everyone using their own clients? So it probably raises more questions than answers in my mind.
Yeah, me too. Well, we got some follow-ups coming up, but first, let's talk about Prosper.com. Prosper is a lending marketplace that will connect people who want to borrow money with people who have money to lend. There are a lot of ways to borrow money. You can go to the bank. Good luck with that. You can go to a friend or a relative. Always a terrible idea. Prosper.com is kind of the high-tech way, the Silicon Valley way to borrow money, because essentially they match investors in you with you and your project. You can borrow up to $35,000 in as few as 5 days and use the money for just about anything. You pay off high-rate credit cards. You can start a new business. You can remodel your kitchen. Whatever it is you need to borrow money for, Prosper is a fantastic place to do that, and you can check your low rate instantly, and that won't affect your credit score, which is really a nice feature. For a limited time, Prosper is offering Twit audience members a $50 Visa prepaid card when you get a loan. Just go to prosper.com/twit, and there's a special site just for Twit fans, up to $35,000 in just 5 days, and a $50 Visa prepaid card. To go to prosper.com/twit, and we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Well, some follow-ups. We told you Friday that the Winklevi want their upcoming Gemini Bitcoin exchange to be the first regulated exchange in the United States, but Coinbase is getting there first. Sorry, Winklevi. The company plans to announce theirs today. Coinbase is already approved by over half of the state regulators. We told you for months about the on-again, off-again social media censorship by the Turkish government. Now, a Turkish court has ordered Facebook to block pages that supposedly insult the Prophet Muhammad, and Facebook has done so, according to Mashable. The judge had threatened to block the entire social network in Turkey if the company didn't comply. Apple Pay is super convenient. Just tap on NFC point-of-sale systems with your iPhone, keeping your finger or thumb on the fingerprint reader, and you're done. But one Missouri lawmaker wants to make it less convenient. Representative Joshua Peters is working on a new law that would require a driver's license when using any phone or tablet to pay, even though IDs are much easier to fake than fingerprints. Kevin Tofel, what do you think about that? A law that require a driver's license kind of spoils the whole thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, why don't we just go back to, trading trinkets and things and bartering? I mean, this is just silly. I don't understand the purpose of this. I mean, I suppose it's to protect identity and so on, but I would question, and I haven't read the bill, and nor do I know Representative Joshua Peters, but I would suggest that perhaps he look at the technology that's being used here, because really, I think identities are protected. It's actually safer than a credit card transaction itself, because neither the merchant nor anybody else involved actually has your credit card numbers. It's all a tokenization-based system. I just don't like this idea at all, frankly.
I wonder if you can use Apple Pay to buy one of those perfect fake IDs from China. Have to look into that. Samsung will supply about 75% of the processors for the next iPhone, a Korea business newspaper reported today. Kevin, does that surprise you, 75%? That's, they're still doing business with each other, apparently.
Yeah, they're both competitors and business partners in some sense, because Samsung does fabricate the chips for the iPhone, for Apple. It does surprise me in the sense that there's been talk about Apple looking to Taiwan Semi manufacturing to create chips, but from what I've been hearing, and it's not, I don't know if it's true or not, Taiwan Semi will have more orders in the following generation of products. So it looks like Apple is trying to distance itself from Samsung in some way, shape, and form here with chips, but it doesn't look like that will happen with this next iPhone.
Could you envision a world in which Apple makes its own processors completely from scratch?
I could envision it, but I can also envision a huge bill. It is not cheap to build a chip fabrication plant. Very few companies do. They're all fabless, meaning they architect and design the chip, but then they outsource the actual production of the chips to companies that have spent billions of dollars doing so. So I envision it, but I just don't know if Apple's going to ever take the plunge to spend that kind of money.
They certainly have the money. I mean, we're going to hear from them. Their earnings report is this week. I think that it's safe to say that they are going to report massive profits, mainly because of China. Their cash hoard is probably going to be north of $170 billion. Do you agree with that? Do you think they're going to report a gigantic earnings?
I have little doubt. I mean, we'll see tomorrow, I believe, is the earnings. China is big. We just reported this morning that some analysts are calling for China iPhone sales to actually be ahead of U.S. iPhone sales, which I think would be the first time. And really, China is just getting started with their smartphone revolution, whereas we're more in an evolutionary period at this point. So there's lots of profits on the horizon for Apple. Yes, they certainly have a ton of money and certainly enough to build fabrication plants. I just don't think that's a business they want to get into.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Dropcam is pulling the plug on its Dropcam and Dropcam Echo products. They'll no longer even work after April 15th. That's the bad news. Here's the good news. Dropcam is sending free upgrade replacements to owners who fill out an online form. How cool is that? That is a great policy. And so if you've got one of those old and busted Dropcams, don't worry. They're going to send you the new hotness.
This is actually pretty rare for a company to replace the legacy products like this at no charge. I'm super impressed with what Dropcam people are doing.
Definitely. And, you know, people are paying for the monthly service, but still, that is a great policy. Well, just in time for the Super Bowl, the U.S. National Football League has inked a deal with Google to distribute NFL videos. Starting this week, NFL highlight clips will show up on YouTube and also in Google search results. Google will also show scores, kickoff times, and local networks that are showing the game. They're still driving traffic to the TV set, but finally we're going to have some official NFL clips, unlike the illegal ones like the one we're showing. This is not illegal. It's just not posted by the NFL. It's perfectly legal. Well, AT&T has agreed to buy all the Mexican wireless assets from NII Holdings for $1.875 billion. The acquisition includes Nextel Mexico, as well as Spectrum licenses, network assets, retail stores, and about 3 million Mexican customers. NII went bankrupt in September.
And this is actually the second big purchase, if I'm not mistaken, of a Mexican-based network down there. AT&T just purchased, I don't recall who it was just a couple weeks ago, but they're making a big push now for free calling international calls across the U.S.-Mexico border. And this is one of the ways they're trying to do that. And there's quite an opportunity there for them if they do that. It will grow their subscriber base as well.
Well, we've got some big numbers for you this morning. $129,000. That's how many dollars somebody paid for a 20th anniversary edition Sony PlayStation 4 at an auction held over the weekend by Sony itself. That is a lot of money for a PlayStation 4.
I'm a gamer, but that's a bit rich for my blood. Maybe if it was like one of the original Beatles tapes, I might have tried to swing it, but no, not a Sony PlayStation 4.
At least make it red or something. This was beige.
Yeah, nah. That would clash in my office. No good.
Well, we've got some news you can lose. One difference between the iPhone 6 and the Nexus 6 is that the Nexus doesn't have a fingerprint reader, but it turns out that that's Apple's fault. Former Motorola CEO Dennis Woodside told a UK newspaper that the dimple on the back of the Nexus 6 was supposed to be a round fingerprint sensor, just like the iPhone 6 has on the front. But the company intended to use Authentec's technology, which it considered to be by far the best on the market. So when Apple bought Authentec, Motorola decided to go without a reader altogether rather than use an inferior part.
And Motorola actually had a fingerprint reader back on the Atrix or Atrix HD way back in the day. It was not the best, but so they had the right idea, just didn't have the implementation. It looks like they were doing it or planning it. And it's funny because I have my Moto X here, and that dimple is right where I rest my finger all the time. Yeah. Just, it's ideal. You know, you don't even have to think about it. It would just automatically work.
Was the old Motorola one of those slots that you have to swipe your finger across?
It was actually on the top back, and you would just slide your finger down and read it like one of the old school fingerprint sensors. So it was a linear thing, not just a whole square sensor that would work.
Interesting. Well, we got well, actually, it's a message on where did that appear? It appeared on Google Plus by Matthew Otten, and he wrote something really, really cool. Check this out. Here's what he wrote. A while back, I was featured on the How I Watch TNT with my restaurant Copper Top Barbecue in Big Pine, California. I told you guys how I used the knowledge I gained from watching the TWiT network to shape my business and help it grow, making it more efficient with the products and services featured, advertised, and talked about every week. Now my restaurant has just been named by Yelp, are you ready for this, folks? The #1 restaurant in America. And I still firmly believe that much of the credit goes to you guys. Not only did your entertaining netcast keep me going during the prep in the morning, but information I learned every day kept my business on the cutting edge of new tech that could and has made my business run more efficiently. If you guys ever get the chance to head over here, please let me treat you all to some good barbecue. Everyone is invited. Thank you for that invitation. He also has a shout out for Gina Trapani, Jeff Jarvis, Leo Laporte, Jason Howell, me, Mike Elgan, and Ron Richards. He says, you guys are my heroes. And congratulations to you, Matthew Otten, for being named the #1 restaurant in the U.S. That is absolutely incredible.
That's impressive. And I'm actually very jealous because Matthew's restaurant is close to you guys. I'm on the wrong coast, obviously, for barbecue. So
road trip. I'll jump in John's car and we'll go up there right now. Can't wait. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Guy Templeton in London, who posted this picture on Google+. I don't know what it is about Tech News Today fans, but they have a lot of monitors going all the time. It's pretty, that's the sunburn material right there. Look at that. Very cool.
Wow.
It's very moody too. It's like very atmospheric, very nice. Well, how do you watch or listen to TNT? Just record a video or take a picture of your setup and post it on Google+, Twitter, or Facebook. Use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Tech News Today. Kevin Tofel, what are you working on these days, and how can people read what you're working on?
Oh, I am working on so much these days. So you can go to gigaohm.com and read my coverage of the mobile devices that I review all the time. I'm playing with some new Windows 8 devices and upgraded to Windows 10, which is kind of interesting. I'm also doing a Chrome podcast, Chrome show we do on Tuesdays, myself and Yanko Rutgers. And you can reach me on Twitter at Kevin C. Tofel.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us as our co-anchor today, Kevin.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Well, you can subscribe to Tech News Today on iTunes, and please leave a review and let us know how you like the show. You can choose another way to subscribe also at twit.tv/TNT. You can watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv, or on the app or browser plugin of your choice. You can follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV, and you can follow me personally on Google+. Just search my name and you'll find me. Also, I crossed the 4 million followers threshold last night on Google+, and nearly 500 million views, and I'd like to thank all 4 million of you and look forward to continued interaction with you G+ maniacs. And please send us your thoughts and opinions to TNT@twit.tv or call 260-TNT-SHOW. Don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight at 4 p.m. Pacific tonight and every single weeknight right here on the TWiT network. My name's Mike Elgan. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.